Master, in our second part, we explore the fierce debate over the soul. How did the Buddhists justify their denial of a permanent soul?
The Buddhists, particularly Vasubandhu, argued that to see a color, you only need an eye, light, and the color itself. A permanent soul is entirely unnecessary for sense cognition.
But we all feel a sense of I. What is that?
To them, the I is just a conglomeration of passing psychological elements called skandhas. It has no independent reality. Its existence is merely prajnapti sat, a convenient cognitional appearance, much like milk is just a blend of color, taste, and liquid.
Did all Buddhists strictly deny the individual?
Not all. A sect called the Vatsiputriyas believed in a momentary individual, a pujyela, which was conditioned by the skandhas, just as fire is conditioned by fuel.
How did Vasubandhu refute them?
He asked, how is this individual experienced? It is not a color, a sound, or a taste. It cannot be sensed. He argued that consciousness is just a chain of conscious moments. When it changes coordination, we metaphorically say the person knows it, just as we say a flame moves.
But doesn't the Bharihari Sutra speak of a carrier of the burden of life? Doesn't that imply a soul?
The Vatsiputriyas used that exact text to argue for the pujyela. The text says the five aggregates are the burden, and the individual is the carrier.
That seems like clear proof of an agent.
Vasubandhu skillfully countered it. He said the carrier is not an eternal soul. It is simply the momentary group of elements from the preceding moment passing the burden to the succeeding moment. There is no enduring agent.
How does Sankara's Vedanta counter this relentless logic of momentary flashes?
Vedanta takes a radical stand. It declares that consciousness is not a product. Even if light, the eye, and the object come together, the resulting consciousness is fundamentally different from those physical conditions.
So it isn't an effect at all.
Exactly. Because it is not a product of any collocation, it cannot be a momentary flashing. It is uncaused, eternal, and unlimited. Its only essence is pure, continuous self-revelation.
But my thoughts do flash and change. I think of a book, then a table. Isn't consciousness changing?
Vedanta says you are confusing the mirror with the reflection. Consciousness is a steady, unchangeable light. The momentary flashing belongs entirely to the objects that come in touch with it.
So the awareness itself never flickers?
Never. It is an illusion that the awareness of a book and a table are different awarenesses. The pure light is one. It is only the changing association of objects with this light that creates the false appearance of different, momentary cognitions.
If consciousness is just momentary sparks, how do we recognize things? How do I know I am the same person who saw this yesterday?
That is the critical phenomenon of pratyabhijna, or recognition. Buddhists claim it is a false fusion of a past memory and a present perception, with no permanent soul connecting them.
That seems to contradict our direct feeling of persisting through time.
Vedanta points exactly to this. The feeling, I am the same, cannot be explained by two isolated, momentary concepts. The memory of a past cognition demands a permanent entity that witnessed it then and recognizes it now.
But earlier you said pure consciousness has no memory and no traits. How can it recognize anything?
A profound question. Pure consciousness alone cannot recognize. But the self, when associated with the antahkarana, the mind which holds subconscious impressions, behaves as the individual ego.
So the ego is doing the recognizing?
Yes. The mind holds the impressions of the past, and the eternal light of the self illuminates both the past impression and the present object, forging the realization, I, who existed then, am the same I existing now.
Why can't I just perceive my own self like I perceive a book?
Because the self is swaprakasha, self-luminous. Whatever becomes an object of cognition is finite, material, and not the self. The eye can see everything, but it cannot see itself as an object.
But I am certain that I exist.
That certainty is proof of self-luminosity. If knowledge required a second knowledge to be known, you would fall into an infinite regress. You do not infer your awareness, it is immediately and universally self-revealing.
Let us move to cosmology. If Brahman is the only reality, how did the physical universe get here?
Through avidya, or ajnana. In Vedanta, this is not just a psychological lack of knowledge. It has an ontological existence. It is an indefinable, mysterious stuff that serves as the material cause of the world appearance.
So ignorance is a substance that transforms?
Yes. It is the Bhuta Prakriti, the mother of all existence. Resting on pure Brahman, it weaves both the subjective mind and the objective physical universe.
How does this ajnana operate to create a universe?
It has two formidable powers. First is Avarana Shakti, the power of veiling. Second is Vikshepa Shakti, the power of projecting or creating.
How can a mere illusion veil the infinite, self-luminous Brahman?
Just as a small cloud, though tiny, can completely hide the massive sun from our eyes. Avarana hides the true, blissful nature of the self, making it appear limited and bound to worldly fears.
Once the self is veiled, how does the projecting power, Vikshepa, create the world?
It operates through the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. With pure consciousness as the basis, and the heavy tamas predominating, it first produces akasha, or space.
And from space come the other elements?
Yes. From akasha comes vayu, air. From air comes ajini, fire. From fire comes aap, water. And from water comes prithvi, earth. These are the subtle, uncompounded elements, or tanmatras.
Do these subtle elements form our physical bodies?
Not directly. They first form the sukshma sharira, the subtle body. It has 17 parts. The 5 cognitive senses like sight and hearing are born from the pure sattva parts of the 5 elements.
And the active parts?
The 5 conative senses, like speech and handling, are born from the rajas parts. Add to these the 5 vital breaths, the vayos, along with buddhi, the intellect, and manas, the doubting mind.
I have heard of the koshas, or sheaths. How do these 17 parts form them?
Buddhi and the cognitive senses form the Vijnanamaya kosha. This sheath acts as the agent, the one who feels, I do this. Manas and the cognitive senses form the Manomaya kosha, the instrument of desire and volition.
And the vital breaths?
They combine with the action senses to form the Pranamaya kosha, which handles all motor functions. These 3 sheaths together make up the subtle body that transmigrates through rebirths.
If the subtle body is made of uncompounded elements, how do we get the gross, physical world we can touch?
Through a mathematical compounding process called panhikarana. Each subtle element is divided in half. One half remains pure.
What happens to the other half?
It is divided into 4 equal parts, which are then mixed with the house of the other 4 elements. Thus, every gross object in the universe is a composite, containing a fraction of all 5 elements.
With the gross universe created, is there a presiding intelligence over all this?
Yes. The cosmic deity who presides over the totality of all subtle bodies is called Hiranyagarbha. The deity who presides over the totality of all gross, physical bodies is called Siksrat.
And what is my individual physical self called?
On the individual level, the person presiding over a single gross body is called Vishwa. And this physical universe they inhabit consists of 7 upper worlds and 7 lower netherworlds.
To bring this back to our daily experience, how does my mind actually perceive a physical jug?
The mind, or antakarana, is made of transparent sattva. In Vedanta, the mind actually goes out of the body through the eyes, reaches the jug, and transforms into the shape of the jug. This shape is the vritti.
And how does that create knowledge?
The physical jug is veiled by ajnana. When the transparent vritti contacts the jug, it tears away that specific veil of ignorance. Instantly, the eternal, self-luminous consciousness underneath shines through, and you perceive the jug.
So the mind is stretched between the body and the object?
Exactly. It functions in 3 parts. The part remaining inside the body acts as the ego, the knower. The part stretching outward is the cognitive process. The third part touches the object and takes its form.
It bridges the gap between me and the world.
Yes. Pure consciousness manifests through all 3 parts. It illuminates the knower, the process of knowing, and the object known. In that moment of perception, the subject and object are temporarily united through the vritti.
If everything is an illusion of ajnana, is any of this knowledge true?
Vedanta defines truth, or prama, simply as knowledge that has not been contradicted. Our knowledge of the waking world is true for all practical purposes because it remains uncontradicted in our daily lives.
But it isn't the ultimate truth.
No. The world appearance will eventually be contradicted and negated when the absolute knowledge of Brahman dawns. Only pure, self-luminous consciousness is never contradicted at any stage. That alone is the absolute truth.